Hey friends, welcome back to Gamer Math, and in this video, we're going over adding and subtracting fractions. Mixing fractions can either be really easy or a bit complicated, and it entirely depends on the two fractions you're given. If you haven't watched our video on equivalent fractions, I'll link to it in the description. There's really only two rules to remember when we're adding and subtracting fractions. First, they need to have the same denominator. If they don't, you'll need to take additional steps towards fixing that. For this part, we're going to work with fractions that do have the same denominator. Now, the second rule is when you add or subtract two fractions and combine them, it's only the numerator that changes. The denominator stays the same, and this is a common mistake. So if I had a bag of Skittles, undeniably the best candy on earth, along with Starburst, and there was 3/5 of the bag left, but then I ate 1/5 of it, that would be 3/5 minus 1/5. The first step is to check the denominator is the same, and it is! So next, we can mix these into a single fraction, 3 minus 1/5, which gives us 2/5. The numerator changed, but the denominator didn't. Simple dimple. But what if the denominator is not the same? This is where it gets a bit trickier. Adding 1/5 to 3/10 of a bag of Skittles, that doesn't work. A fifth and a tenth, those are two different measurements. So we're going to take the steps to make the denominators the same. If you remember from our equivalent fractions video, we learned that if you multiply the top and the bottom of a fraction by the same number, the fraction doesn't change value. So 1/5 and 2/10 are the same thing because both the top and the bottom have been multiplied by 2. So what we're going to do is multiply the top and the bottom of that first fraction so that the denominator is the same as the second fraction. So we'll take that 1/5 and turn it into 2/10. Now we can add them to make 2 plus 3/10, which equals 5/10. Now, side note, when you're giving your final answer for a fraction question, make sure to check if they're asking you to simplify or reduce the fraction. In this case, 5/10 can actually be reduced. Both 5 and 10 are divisible by 5, so we can reduce this to 1/2. Now let's check out the most complicated type of question. Let's try to add 1/2 and 1/3. In the previous question, we were able to multiply the lesser denominator to match the larger one, but here 2 cannot be multiplied by a full number to give us 3. So what we're going to have to do is multiply each fraction separately so that the denominators end up being the same. We need to find a common multiple. What's the lowest number that both 2 and 3 can be multiplied to make? Now, if you have trouble finding common multiples, the easiest way to do it is just to multiply those two numbers together on the side. 2 times 3 equals 6. So we're going to make each fraction have a denominator of 6. Looking at 1/2, we know that we need to multiply the 2 by 3 to make it 6. So we multiply the top and the bottom by 3. And now for the 1/3, we multiply the top and the bottom by its own number, 2. Now both have the same denominator. We can add them to make 2 plus 3/6, which equals 5/6. Wasn't that a blast? Isn't math so much fun? Okay, let's bring it in game. In Hades, you have 17/100 health. You use a spell that heals you 2/3 of your health. What will your new health be? Represent your answer as a fraction. Again here, 3 does not multiply into 100. So let's multiply them together to find a common multiple. 3 times 100 is 300. So let's multiply the top and the bottom of the first fraction by 100, and the top and the bottom of the second fraction by 3. Our new equation is 200/300 plus 51/300. Add them together, and our health is 251/300. Always check at this point if your fraction can be reduced. This one cannot. But for curiosity's sake, let's reduce it back down to a denominator of 100. This gives us 83.67/100. Now, as a reminder, this is not a suitable answer because fractions need to have a full integer on both the top and the bottom. But for the sake of this question, we'd have 83.67 health, which would be probably rounded up to 84, since we don't have decimal health in games. So there you go! Make sure to check out the other videos on fractions here on the channel. But in the meantime, friends, keep studying, keep gaming, keep learning.